Welcome everyone to the American Club of Hamburg here online. We're recording this event, so if you don't want to be seen in it, you can just turn your video off. And please keep your microphones on mute. And at the end, we will have, if you have questions that you'd like to ask the governor, text them directly to me, and then I'll see if I can squeeze them in. Okay. So thank you so much, Governor. Thanks for giving us a half an hour of your valuable time here. So good to see you again. It was nice to visit you just recently in your offices spontaneously, and thanks for offering to be here with us at the American Club of Hamburg.
Very, very happy to be with you all. I miss Hamburg. I've not been there in many years, and it's good to be with Hamburg virtually. I also want to give, he's not on my screen, but Consul General Jason Chu is on with us as well, and I want to acknowledge him. But back to you, David, and thanks for having me.
So as I'm not sure if everybody knows here, but Phil was the ambassador to Germany between 2009 to 2013, and since returning to the U.S., he ran for governor of New Jersey. He's in the middle of his second term. He's also currently chair of the National Governors Association, and in this capacity, he's meeting regularly with President Biden. So maybe let's start out with that. Tell us a little bit about what that's like, meeting with Biden. What issues are at the top of the list?
Yeah, so I've known the president a long, long time. He's a former Delaware senator. He was viewed as New Jersey's quote unquote third senator for decades. And I owe him, he's high on the list of people to whom I owe thanks for being in elective office. In fact, in particular, during a lengthy weekend we had together when I was our ambassador in Germany. Listen, we talk about the stuff that you would not be surprised about. I love the foreign policy stuff, but that's less of a focus of mine. We spend a lot of time talking about the economy. And we spent a lot of time, we being, in this case, my wife and I, a lot of time helping him both to get elected the first time and hopefully to get reelected this time. It's a fascinating time right now, not all for good reasons, but it's a fascinating time. President Trump's about to be turn himself in as we speak, I think. And so you've got a very competitive primary in the Republican Party with many candidates. You've got limited competition to President Biden on the Democratic side. You've got a war in Europe, which you all know well. We're still recovering from the pandemic. Inflation on the one hand is still in our midst, but real concern about the banking sector is also in our midst, and that would lead to different, those two concerns would lead to two very different policy fixes. So it's an incredibly fascinating time right now, not all for good reasons, unfortunately. And we keep our head down. You mentioned last observation, David, that I'm chair of the National Governors Association, which is a bipartisan group. I'm also chair of the Democratic Governors Association, which is a hyper-partisan group. No one's ever done both at the same time. And as I'm living it, I understand why. One group is kumbaya, find common ground. The other group is we're going to rip your throat out. So that's the life I'm living right now. And again, great to be on with you all virtually.
Yeah, and I think that's the first time a governor has been a chair of both groups, and also the first time a National Governors Association chair has come from New Jersey. So quite a few firsts there. Tell us a little bit about your what are your most proud accomplishments now and challenges being governor of New Jersey?
Yeah, so I got elected in 2017, got reelected in 2021 for kind of crazy reasons. I'm the first Democratic governor to get reelected in New Jersey in 44 years, which is insane when you think about it and when you think about how progressive this state is viewed. But why did I get elected and why did I get reelected? Basically to fix the place. And it was broken in basically three major dimensions. The economy didn't grow. There were huge inequities. And we had become probably with Illinois, the least fiscally responsible state in America. And by the way, both sides of the aisle, guilty as charged. None of that happened overnight. It happened over a period of 30 to 40 years. So we said, you know what, darn it, we're going to grow the economy. We're going to shrink inequities, and we're going to get back to being responsible again. And without getting into all the details, we've made a lot of progress on all three of those. We've birthed new elements of our economy. Film and television is booming, offshore wind, adult use cannabis, fintech, just a huge explosion in some industries that didn't even exist when we got into office. We've done major criminal justice reforms, raised minimum wage, earned sick leave, addressed housing inequities, educational inequities. We've, I think, expunged 360,000 individuals from low-end drug crimes. So addressed a lot of the inequities. Again, our work is not done. And we're being viewed again as a place you can rely on. We've been upgraded by the rating agency 7 consecutive times over the past year and a half. We're paying our bills. We're making our pension payments. We're reducing indebtedness. We've got budgets that we signed that are real with big surpluses. So that's the sort of three-legged stool that we've hung our reputation on. And so far, so good. We're in year 6 out of 8.
That sounds like you've been quite busy there. I know you were busy when you were ambassador here in Germany. I'm sure there are a lot of surprises in the job that you're currently doing. I just want to get back to the National Governors Association. You know, we see the issue of bipartisanship, and you touched on that a little bit earlier on. How does bipartisanship work in the National Governors Association? Like just even this past few days, DeSantis. Governor Newsom and DeSantis were having a little war of words there. How does that actually work when during the I guess they're closed meetings? What is that like behind the scenes?
So it's quite refreshing, but it's not all for good reasons, but it's largely good for good reasons. It's refreshing. We're going to have my last convening as chair next month in Atlantic City. We'll have about 25 American governors from both sides of the aisle with a great agenda. The organization pivots back and forth between Democratic governors and Republicans as both chair and vice chair. So I was vice chair to Asa Hutchinson, former governor of Arkansas. My vice chair, about to be chair, is Spencer Cox of Utah. 2 great guys in it for the right reasons, as I hope I am as well. Secondly, I think you have to be realistic about the topics you choose to try to find common ground on. So I'd love to think reproductive freedom would be on that list, but it's not. So when you become chair, you get an initiative, as does your first lady. Mine is strengthening mental health among our youth. Tammy's, my wife's, is infant and maternal health, which is something she's been on since day one as first lady. You travel around the country, you have convenings, both sides, governors from both parties show up, first ladies, first partners from both parties. So that's another reason why you have to be focused on what topics bring us together. But when the Fed started raising interest rates, we got both Ben Bernanke and Larry Summers to join us. Several months ago, we got President Zelensky to join us to talk about the war. When the war first happened, I got Condi Rice and Mike McFaul, our former ambassador to Russia. So there's the OMB director we couldn't get, but that's due to our fault, not his, when they achieved the debt ceiling compromise, to just give a sense of what the impact would be on states. And now here, finally, I will take a political shot. Ron DeSantis doesn't come. Florida doesn't pay its dues. Greg Abbott doesn't come. Texas doesn't pay its dues. I think 47 of the American states pay their dues, and the governors take it seriously. Those guys don't, and they deserve what's coming at them as a result.
I guess that's not surprising to hear. One of your predecessors, Chris Christie, has also now announced that he's running. What do you make of this sort of diluted field of so many people running against Trump? Is that actually? It almost seems like it's a plan to dilute it so much that Trump still stands out. What do you make of
Yeah.
this? And they're starting even they're really just softballing it to him when they could be going much harder. What do you make of this field?
Yeah. So there is the risk, David, I agree with you, that the bigger the field, with the hardcore support that President Trump has, it's beginning to feel like 2016. And I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an expert in terms of how this indictment plays or doesn't play, but it doesn't soften his support. It probably does harden his opposition, but right now, the opposition in that party is spread among a whole lot of people. Chris Christie's not my guy. He's one of the governors that got us into the mess we're in. So let me say that explicitly. Joe Biden is my guy. Having said that, Chris Christie is very effective on that debate stage. You may have seen him last night in the CNN town hall. He's really good at giving you impressions. In New Jersey, he said, I reformed our pension system successfully. Do you know how he reformed it? He stopped making pension payments. That's not reform. That's abrogating your responsibility. But to his credit, anybody out there who doesn't know that, which is most of America, heard how he framed that last night and said, wow, this guy's a responsible leader. And lastly, I think he is the most effective in that field, far more so than DeSantis, who I continue to think is a paper tiger. Christie will prosecute the case on the stage very effectively against Trump. Whether or not it leads to his victory, I can't tell, but he will be the most effective, in my opinion, candidate to do just that.
Now, you personally, you're around halfway through your second term, and this term limited, so you can't run again. What do you plan to do afterwards? What are your further political aspirations?
No idea. I love the job I have, but as you suggest, the clock is running out on that. I love being an ambassador, as did my wife and kids. That's getting to represent our country again would be high on the list, but I haven't really given it a minute of thought. People have asked me incessantly, so I'll ask it and save your breath. Would I run for president? I might have kicked the tires and probably would have this time had the president not decided to run, but it was pretty clear for a long time that he would run. But you know, I'm going to be, unlike other folks out there who are running at the ages of 80 and 77, I'm going to be in my low 70s in 2028, and I just have never grown up thinking that sort of job is compatible with that age and the energy it takes. So to be determined. I know you told me that you bought a place here in Berlin. Do you have plans to return to Germany or spend much time here in that residence? Yeah, so we bought the place. We bought the place 10 years ago when we were leaving, near the end of my term. Tammy and I have not been in the residence in almost 5 years. Our kids do use it. Our son Charlie is there as we speak. He just got out of college and he's there with a couple of friends, and he's spending a couple of weeks there. We love Berlin. So the answer almost certainly is yes. I don't think permanently, but we love the city and we love the country. And I have to ask if there are any HSV fans out there, what happened against Stuttgart? I watched pieces of both games, and it was a complete utter embarrassment. I'm not taking sides, but come on, man.
I know.
Better than that.
And they had a pretty good season. It looked like they were going to make it this year. Yeah. But I don't know if you caught that we just had on the weekend this new European League of Football. The Hamburg's team played in the Volkspark Stadium, 32,500 fans, which was a new record for football here, American football in Germany.
I missed that. That's great.
Let me go to the gallery here. First call on Philip Reese. You can unmute and please ask your question.
Hello, Philip.
Hello,
Scott.
Governor. Hello, Governor. Thank you very much. My question is, when you first decided to go into politics and diplomacy, why did you decide to do that, and what was the reason why you wanted to leave the banking industry?
Well, I left the bank. It's a good question, Clay. I don't have you on my screen, but thank you for the question. So, am I missing a screen here, David, or have you? Oh, there we
No,
go.
I think he just doesn't have his video on.
Okay, I just got him. Hi, Philippe. I left banking because basically the clock had really run out. When you're at the level I was at, not everybody, but for the most part, either you're going to be the guy that runs the place or you pack your bags. And it was clear at the end that I was not going to be the guy to run the place. Public service has been in my blood since I was a little kid. We were middle class on a good day. My mom is the only one of my parents to finish high school. My dad dropped out. She made sure we got educated. He made sure we cared about politics and public service and community. So it's been in my blood. I was a good fundraiser in the private sector. That was part of the business at Goldman Sachs that I was in. So I was a natural with a lot of political passion and ability to deal with people of consequence. I was a natural to become the national finance chair for the Democratic National Committee when Howard Dean was chair. And that was successful. We won the House and Senate and the White House with Barack Obama. And then because I lived in Germany at Goldman, I spoke some German. I had friends and history and roots in Germany. I don't want to speak for the president, but President Obama likely put two and two together and said, you know, you'll be a good guy to be an ambassador. We came back from Germany, not expecting at all to run for governor, but we came back to a popular governor, Chris Christie, in a broken state. And so we just couldn't figure that out. He became, unfortunately, we were right about the state being broken, and he soon enough became very unpopular. He remains unpopular in the state. And we basically said, okay, we took a lot of time, policy, not politics. What's wrong with New Jersey? In other words, what needs to happen to fix it? And then over here, what am I good at and not good at? Good advice always, look in the mirror and be honest with yourself. And how seamless was the match between what was needed and what we could bring? And it turned out our bet was, we didn't know, but we bet that was a pretty good match. Sorry, we're saving money. I'm in a room and the lights go out if you don't move every 15 minutes. So hold on. Gonna make a fool of myself. All right, there we go.
It sounds like you're just trying to get in your steps.
Don't ever accuse New Jersey of wasting money. And we looked at the field. We said, you know what? We were a nobody. There were a bunch of other front runners. We said, you know what? We're going to take our chances. And the rest, as they say, is history. But that's the quick and dirty trail.
Okay, let's take a question from Sven.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Sven.
Hi, Phil. Good to see you, and thanks for the time. Still remember your great speech back at the Bucharest Law School many years ago. Really inspiring.
Thank you, man.
Just wanted to. I actually had a question which you kind of answered in finding common ground between the aisle and kind of subjects which you can all agree on to move things forward. It still feels like we're almost still recovering from the previous administration, if we want to call that, and the relations to Germany. And what are some of the topics and themes that you can think of that we can really kind of work together on from the US and from the German side to really push vital topics forward? What do you see as big agenda items where we can jointly, get forward again?
I think the relationships, Sven, and you guys know this as well as I do, if not more so, suffered dramatically under Trump. He treated his allies, I think in particular, Angela Merkel in Germany, really poorly, disdainfully. He had an awful ambassador. The guy he nominated after, what's his name, Grinnell, thank God, would have been even worse. So he couldn't have gotten worse, in my opinion. It's come a long way back. I actually am very bullish that it is back at full strength. Joe Biden is a transatlanticist. Tony Blinken and Bill Burns. I had dinner with each of them at Henry Kissinger's 100th last week. They are two. Jake Sullivan, these are transatlanticists. Lloyd Austin, you got a great U.S. ambassador in Amy Gutman, who's very close to the president. So I think we have the right mindset and the right team on the field, and we're back at full strength. Now, part of the reason we're at full strength is an awful reason, and that is there's a war in Europe, and we've had no choice, arguably. I shudder to think how Trump would have handled this war, by the way. But the good news is Joe Biden, for all the talk about his age and everything else, his wisdom is what matters, in my humble opinion, and it's seen no more clearly than the ability to not just stand with Ukraine, but to keep this coalition rock solid, tightly together. And then I think, Sven, beyond that, there's other great stuff, cultural exchanges. I still see the Rios folks whenever they come, the Burns fellows, culture, commerce. My first trip as an ambassador, economic mission, was to Germany. I hope to get back before my time is finished. But I think we've gotten this thing back into really good shape. But it also, last observation, given how bad it was and how awful Trump is, particularly as he deals with institutions in our country, never mind NATO, European Union, United Nations, other multilateral organizations, it reminds you how fragile this all is and how one person can derail it, which means we have to do whatever we can. I'm with Joe Biden, but let's get a responsible person elected president. I hope it's Joe Biden for sure, but let's just make sure beyond party that they're responsible. And Trump was as irresponsible a president as we've ever had, sadly.
Thank you. Our next question comes from somebody from your hometown, your childhood town of Needham. Go ahead, Gary.
Where's Gary?
He's probably trying to unmute right now.
Yes, I just unmuted. Yeah, just a couple of questions. One, do you have any perspective on the whole Bridgegate? Because I watched Christie last night and didn't watch the whole thing, but he didn't make too much mention about that, and I wondered if you think we'll hear much about it, in the upcoming weeks.
And what was your other question?
And the other question was just about your career, and if you had it to do over again, what kind of things might you have done differently?
Good question. Are you really from Needham, Gary?
I am.
What street?
And, I raised my kids, who are on the line with us too, on Valley Road originally in Needham, and their products are the Needham High School system.
So I'm Needham High 75. So say hi to your kids. And I was at Central Avenue down toward the Newton end, 204 Central. So Christie's opponents will certainly bring up Bridgegate, as they should. I think it's probably faded as an effective tool. He never got hung with it. He should have. It's quite clear that they, with all due respect, it's quite clear they did this deliberately, with all due respect to his obfuscations. But I don't think it's that potent. He'll get hit with it. But given the magnitude of the scandals that Trump has prosecuted and the moves, not scandals, at least that I'm aware of with DeSantis, but all the value stuff out there, I think it's going to be small change, would be my guess.
And from your own perspective, you don't consider it a disqualifier?
Yeah, I consider him not qualified to be president for a number of reasons, and that is on the list.
Okay.
The bigger reason is I inherited the state that he helped wreck. So I know the job he did. And again, in fairness to him, it wasn't only him, it was Democrats as well. But he certainly carried that irresponsible water for 8 years. In terms of, and I'm gonna have to go here in a second, David, I apologize. Are you guys related?
Cousin.
Love that.
Cousins. Yep.
I'm not sure. I've gotten incredibly lucky. And never underestimate luck. I know we all know that. And everybody says some version of luck is the residue of design, and that's probably true. So taking school seriously, getting good grades, going to good schools, trying to stretch in life. I think those are all good things. I went into banking for the wrong reason, although it turned out to be a great experience, and that is I had no money. And I was desperate to go someplace to make money. I had to say I had a negative net worth when I got out of graduate school would be the understatement of the year. So I made my decisions far more heavily based on monetary considerations than I think is healthy. So that's the one thing I would say. The one reason why I like these student debt relief plans is because it would allow a more balanced assessment of where you might take your skills. Meaning, in my case, my example, I ended up in public service, but maybe I should have and could have started in public service. But the market could not bear that, at least in my opinion, way back when. That's probably the biggest reconsideration I'd have. Thank you all so much for having me, David, Mr. President. You've been doing this. This guy's been doing this how long you been the president?
Well, since when Obama was running the first time, 2008, just before he became president.
I've been doing business with you since 2009. Great to be with you and all of you virtually. I hope we can do this in Hamburg, or if you're in Jersey, folks, don't hesitate to look us up. Stay well.
Thanks so much, Phil. Take care. Everybody, you can unmute, and
thank you, David.
good to see everyone.
That was great.
Thanks to everyone for joining.
Thanks so
Sorry,
much.
Frank.
Yeah.
I thought he had
Thank
one
you,
more
David.
minute, but couldn't get to you.
That's all right.
Good to see everyone, and hope to
Right.
see everybody also coming up. I guess our next event is on the 22nd, Antonia?
Yes, the
On
22nd.
Thursday, the 22nd, we'll be on the Georg, the Germany's oldest functioning operational steamship, and it's a beautiful boat. We'll take a 3-hour tour around Hamburg, the canals, and see and also talk a little bit about our new involvement with fostering exchange students going to the U.S. from here, and also incoming from the U.S. to Germany. So hope to see you there, and then after that, if you don't make it to the boat, see you all at the 4th of July, hopefully.